Abani Ghani, everyone. This Professor Rahh, Professor Emeritus, California State University of Long Beach, where I taught for 34 years. It was at one time, well, I taught for 34 years in Black studies. And then after about 2007, I changed it to Africana Studies. Then I was a professor of psychology, history, and ethnic studies at Compton Community College, and director of the Transfer Center, and a counselor at Compton Community College. First a counselor, then director, then professor. And then at the same time, city councilman for the city of Compton, board of trustees for Compton Unified School District, and board of trustees for Compton Community College. Now, along with co-host Joe Hembrick, educator for Linwood and administrator for the Linwood Unified School District and Compton Unified School District, as well as being the first Black head football coach at Linwood Unified, and longtime activist and researcher of our heritage and our cultural dynamics. Joe Hembrick is my co-host. We want to thank Brother Rashaki Maskani for providing us this platform. They have critical discussions that affect us as a people, as Black people. It's a very round table discussions on critical issues that we through as a people, and how we meet this challenge. Because the fundamental question is, can we win the struggle? But before we get in that, one of the key crises, there's two key crises that was introduced in the 60s. One, going into the 70s, was an identity crisis for Black people. There were so many different names and Black people identified with. And then at the same time, it was introduced by Dr. Maulana Kareem, called the key crisis in Black life is a culture crisis, a crisis of values and views that was created in the 60s. Along with spiritual, cultural dynamics, the Nation of Islam, the Asiatic Black man, as he called it. He said we weren't from Africa, that we were from Asia, and we the Asiatic, the whole planet was called Asia, and he called us the Asiatic Black man. Principles and identity discussion, Back to Africa movement with Eric Blyden and a few others. Resistance movement by Noble Drew Ali, and many throughout our history, we resisted the Holocaust of enslavement and the Holocaust of discrimination and the Holocaust of violence that inflicted on us as Black people. I asked and see what the panel, who consists today of the good doctor, and we want to thank him because whenever he's on, we get good insight. Deep thinker with plenty of prescriptions to get you healed mentally, spiritually, and if you practice right, it'll be physically. And Brother E, young brother that Joe Hembrick introduced to the platform, that keeps us in contact with the young people, their nation, perspectives of how we're doing as Black people and how we reach young people. And along with Brother Mashinda, an institutionalist who deal with Black people and public service and consciousness, and in the deep South, Louisiana, where he gets a Southern perspective of us as a people. But the fundamental question is that one question, we're going to start off with one question that everyone answered. And it's, first of all, how do you define the Black identity? Because it may still be a crisis. I'm not sure. I need to hear from the panel. We're going to start with Brother E, the young brother. Brother E, do you have a definition of the Black identity? And first of all, is there such a thing as that?
Yes, I identify myself, as sort of the underdog in the place I'm at. As far as my color, my identity being, a Afro American, I feel the black man in America is the underdog. We get treated disrespectfully. We're not given anything. We have to fight for everything that we have gotten and we have accomplished out here. And we're undernumbered. Undernumbered. That's all I have to contribute at this moment.
Besides the African American and a black man, that's the underdog. What are the characteristics of that give you that opinion of who you are?
Okay, why I say underdog is because I don't believe that we have been given the same opportunity as the Europeans or the Asians or maybe the Hispanics in the U.S. So that's why I say underdog, as far as the U.S. And I believe outside the country, we are treated a little better, being a black, black skin and all that nature, being a Afro American. We're treated a lot better outside of this country that we're in right now. So, that's what I have to say about it.
Yeah, but I have another question for you.
Go ahead.
Anybody else can ask them questions too if they want to. What is the when you say given the opportunity, what can we do about the lack of opportunity from your view? Because you say we're not giving it here, but in some foreign places we do have it. So when you say that in here they're not giving it, what is the solution?
Solution, my opinion, is numbers. Numbers as far as speaks louder than one individual speaking. If we collectively, join forces, a lot of what I figure is a lot of us is divided. We all trying to go to the same place, but we have different ideas how to get to that place. And I feel that's what's kind of hurting us, by being spread out so much in these different isolated groups. You're not communicating with these other groups, so we're kind of like isolated in these different pockets in the U.S. Until I figure that we come together, put differences aside, come together and have our strength and our numbers. That's what I'm trying to convey.
Strength in numbers. Okay. All right, brother Machinda, how do you see our identity?
All right, good evening. Well, our identity is how we identify ourselves or how we are identified by others. So there's, so the bottom line is, I think that our identity, although we're not a monolithic people, I mean, like the brother he just said, we perspectives, different ideals and things like that. But at the end of the day, as it relates to the struggle, the struggle has been my entire life and before for a long time. Struggle meaning, you know, having to overcome hurdles, overcome negativity, overcome racism, white supremacy, and so forth. So, in other words, the identity, we all identify with the struggle. Some of us may not claim it on different, but as we, walk out the door each day, we're confronted with, you know, all those things that I mentioned. And so it's about, we're in survival mode. A lot of us, some of us may have more than others to that, as far as financially and all that kind of stuff, monetarily, but still you're faced with, you know, the fascism, the racism, and all that that goes on with society. So in your everyday life, in America, because like brother he just said, we're outnumbered, a low number, we're a minority in the nation that we live in, the so-called nation that we live in. So I think we all can identify on a lot of things in common as far as what's going on. But I think recognizing the attempts to change our identity, to dilute our identity, to take us off course in order for us not to be at one or at one with ourselves, in our communities, just, looking at it from a microcosm in our communities, our cities, our counties, our states, there's entities out there that infiltrate to change that has been changing that identity or trying to attempt to change that identity, being we talk about historical things where black people historically have power. Brother Joe talks about the power that we had back then, the unity we had back then, and things like that. So there's been a concerted effort, a direct effort, subliminal efforts on different levels to destroy, and create. So there's so to describe some of the identities that some of us have, some of us hate ourselves, because of the fact that you look at the Clarence Thomases and the what's his name over there in South Carolina, Tim, the senator over there, and Uncle Tim, and you got the brother named Daniel Cameron over there running for governor in Kentucky. These guys on purpose, unapologetically are, throwing the towel in and running with the enemy, that kind of thing. So it's their identity. They're black, but they identify, they've chosen sides, So again, I think, we've always been under attack since I've known, and therefore, until your community, your neighborhood, your community, your county, your city, your state, and so forth, until we can wake up and see what's going on, from a low level all the way to to the highest, we're lost. So we have a lost identity, stolen legacy, we're in left field, we're in some serious times right now. And you asked a question last week about, uh, you know, how many, when you have, who's talking about what are the conversations that we're having? Are we discussing some of these things? And I said, nobody's discussing this stuff out here. You have conversations, but the order of the day is not that. It's not discussing what we're talking about. The average person is not talking about that. These issues that we're talking about, and there are people that are, like I mentioned before. But what I'm saying is, so that's part of the whole evaluation of who we once were, and the continued onslaught to try to destroy our identity. So. But anyway, that's how I feel right at the moment.
How would you identify yourself?
Identify myself as a brother that's in the struggle. I have goals. Identify with the people I'm around. Identify when I say the people that I'm around. Identify with the brothers and sisters, their plight. And I can relate they're going through. And so I'm trying to be a decision maker or a information provider, and try to change the tide of what I was just discussing. So I identify with the struggle. I mean that's part of my identity. I mean, there's different facets of who I am as far as my identity because of the fact that I'm informed on certain things that allow for me to move move in this life with based on what information that I have. It's not without struggle, of course, but I try to maintain a level of information in front of me so I can kind of navigate through this life. So I'm a black navigator, that's
Navigate.
like to share with others, and hopefully we can overcome this thing at some point. But it's it's terrible, and again, you look at the voter turnout. They got this governor, Jeff Landry, that's the governor of that's going to take office in January. Oh man, he's like that guy that just became the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, who's from Louisiana. These guys have taken over. They have a super majority in the Senate and the House in Louisiana, and they're about to change the
State House and state.
landscape.
You talking about the State House?
That's right. Yeah,
Yeah.
state house. Yeah, I mentioned the federal guy, Mike Johnson, who's from Louisiana, but Jeff Landry's a governor, and we're talking state representatives who are ultra conservative Christian white nationalists that are serious as a heart attack and deadly, and they about to do some damage. And so and so I said the brothers and sisters that have whose identity has eroded has allowed this to happen because they didn't get out and vote, and they didn't get out and participate. They're not protesting. So again, sometimes you like a lone wolf out there, or maybe a group of people that are still doing things. I pretty I can, but I've been doing it all my life. So at the end of the day, the guy became governor in a primary election, which is kind of unprecedented. And he just walked in because nobody in the major cities, in the local cities, really got out to vote. The lowest voter turnout for a gubernatorial election in probably ever, or a long, long time. So my point with that is the identity lacks consciousness, like it once had. Brother Charles Alexander introduced the color conventions. The brothers and sisters, the brothers would meet, Frederick Douglass, Martin Delany, all those guys back in the 1800s they would meet all over the country, have those conventions. People get together and try to work together. You know, so we're lacking that as well. We do have some good things, as you say, Dr. Professor Rahh. We got good stories to talk about. There are good things to talk about, but on the large scale, man, it's a lot of work to be done.
Okay, that's good. You there?
Oh yeah, I'm here.
Yeah. How do you identify yourself, and what do you think about the identity? Is there an identity crisis among Black people?
I'm kind of like Machinda. That's a good question. I would say, man, we don't really have no identity. I was listening to Machinda, started thinking about Brother Muda Baruka. But we don't know what continent came from, but we don't know what country.
Baraka,
Muda Baruka.
Muda
Baruka. We know what continent we're from. We don't know what country. You could do a DNA test and give you a percentage of, hey, you may be from Gambia, Nigeria, or something, man, but you don't have no citizenship. So it's hard to say we have an identity, man. We don't. Like Mubarak would say, hey, Chinese people from China, Japanese people from Japan, Australians. Black people, where's Black land? We have no identity, man. So we identify with the name they gave us. you know. So yeah, that part, man, that's a struggle with us. We really have no identity, man.
Okay.
So that's you know,
That's good.
yeah, we're just here trying to figure it out with no identity.
All
We don't know
right.
where we're going. Like I said, we know what continent most likely we came from originally, going back, but we don't know where we're going. We don't know where we came from. We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. We forget about what happened yesterday.
Mm,
Nothing's going to change, man. We're always going to be just us,
okay.
just us, man.
That's a good point. Rashiki? You there, Rashiki? On me? Okay.
Yeah. Well, I know we're in a scheme of things of a color context,
Mm,
which was implemented by the ones who's in who's around doing all of this killing and all of that. We look for identity. The Community Education Network identifies with consciousness, and we happen to be in the color context, so we call ourselves Black, African American, Afro American. We have many identities amongst the people of color. It's we're so out of our minds because of how we, and I'm just talking about collectively, on how we do things, because we've been, like Professor Rahh, you say, don't let the oppressor be your teacher. Well, the oppressor has been our teacher, and it's been unfortunate. And we're in a consciousness fight, and I know I am, to suppress and get rid of the negative things I've been taught. And with the platform we have, we're taking the leadership of Professor Rahh and other elders, Brother Mashinda, and we try to identify with what's right and do the things that's right, and alarm and alert other people
you keep breaking up, Rashiki.
Well, we got an unstable connection, so I can't
Yeah,
help
but
it
you
at the
sound
moment.
good. Now you sound good now. Yeah.
So how
I
I
can't hear you.
personally identify with consciousness. I happen to be a Black man, and also the things that I learned that are conscious and that are worthy of things that's constructive and worthy of doing and contributing to a healthy society. I do my best to take on those characteristics, and like the background says, each one teach one. We're teaching each other to be better people, and also to fight against this concept of racism, and to become better people. So I call myself, when I'm teaching, I'm a seed planter. So I'm planting seeds to awakening of a better way of being. So that's sort of like what I do.
Yeah, somebody put in the chat, a Black man must reject Steve Biko, who was beat to death in a South African jail. A black man must reject all value systems that seek to make him a foreigner in the country of his birth and reduce his basic human dignity. Did you put that in, Rashiki?
No, that's Brother Machinda. That's Steve Biko.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Let me just go over a few things. And all of y'all make some good points. Because you reflect the masses and you reflect the diversity of thought. When we introduced Operation Unity back in the 60s, it was unity with diversity and unity without uniformity, meaning you didn't have to dress African or dress with bow ties and same haircut. You didn't have to say 100 Abani Ghanis or 2,000 Assalamu Alaikum. It was unity with diversity. We are diverse people. We have different thought. We have conservative Black people. We have Black people that see themselves in different perspectives. I'm just a Christian and I'm just a human. And, I ain't into none of that. And then we also, from unity with diversity without uniformity, we don't have to dress alike. You have freedom from that. And that was the basic principle about unity was formed among Black nationalist group and Black conscious group. You had to approach it with a broad mind that realize that you can't convince people to see things your way. You have to accept them where they are. It's best to lose the point rather than lose the person. So there's no argument, there's no fighting. If you have this belief, but we have to come together to solve the collective problem. Most of y'all identify with the victimization perspective of us as a people. And we wonder if we ever gonna win. Can we win? But anyway, identity generally is a very challenging question, because you ask that, okay, I'm a Black man. You say, well, what did you do Black today? What Black philosophy you practice? There's plenty of them out there. Principles that you can follow are straight out philosophy. Malcolm X was a Black nationalist. Marcus Garvey, Black nationalist. W.E.B. Du Bois believed that the top talented 10 that should lead us with intelligence and with wealth and intelligence. Martin Delaney and Eric Blyden believed in back along with Garvey. It was a part of his Black nationalist perspective. But the point is that we have different mentalities. And they can be put into about 4 different categories. The first one is the Negro. The Negro is absorbed into white culture. He's totally committed. Clarence Thomas totally committed to white culture, and they see themselves as white people, and they see themselves as Americans, United States citizens, and they go in themselves just as a product of America, regardless of their status. Some Black people are rich, some got a medium income, got a job. Some are comfortable in their own oppression, and they don't get involved in things. They don't criticize white folks. They don't get into all of that. They straight Negro. And that's, and so they're absorbed into the Eurocentric value system, ethic system, and principle system. They see themselves, as Malcolm would say, military people. As Malcolm said, they won't even let you nowhere near the companies that many of you say, our country, our land. I'm an American. I was born here. And if a cat climb up in an oven and have kittens, do that make the kittens biscuits? Where you born don't go with your heritage. It's your identity. Most Black people do, and as Doctor was saying, and there's no Black land, but Africa is a Black land. That's where Black people with dark pigmentation, thick lips, broad nose, and bushy hair come from. Anthropologists and all that. And they say that Africa and blackness is synonymous. There ain't no other kind of black person other than an African. No matter how they identify, because of colonialism, some speak Spanish, some speak French, some speak whoever colonized them, whoever enslaved them. They speak that language wherever they were. And, some speak Arabic, some speak Hausa or Swahili. It depends. But the point is that when you start looking at the Negro the Negro just want to be American. You understand? He want to be American. He got a flag out in front of his house. You understand? He makes his kids join the service. You understand? Sometimes, and he just identified. He's totally absorbed into the dominant culture and identity perspective. He doesn't see himself other than how they define him, and he's always looking for them to as not knife out their back and don't stick it in so deep and don't beat me so hard mentality. Then there's the Afro-American, which is a compound identity. The compound identity. Oh, and the Negro, they call themselves Negro. So I ain't black, I ain't African-American, I'm a Negro. From the old school. You don't see it that much today, but when we was going through the 60s, there was black people. As a matter of fact, if you go look at the books and look at the thing on campuses, they called us Negro, and most people identified with that terminology until the black movement came. But the point is that the European don't discriminate. He sees us all as one race, and that's it. We can see ourselves however we want, but all y'all said that we catch hell. And Malcolm said we don't catch hell because we're Christian. We don't catch hell because we're Methodist or Catholic or Muslim. We don't catch hell because we catch hell because we black people are, by their definition. They got a definition of what blackness is, and that inferior implementation of ideology. But then Afro-American is more of a compound identity, whereas you identify with African heritage. And like Doc said, there's no black land. That's why we say the whole continent. We say we're from Africa. We don't know which part. We don't know if we're Igbos or Ashanti, unless you get on that chasing your genes all the way back. But even that's not reliable. Most people get on it to see if there's any white people in their background. You understand? But the point is that the Afro-American is a compound identity of dealing with your African heritage, but your American identity. And they will call themselves, we have Afro-American organizations, African-American Studies Department, African-American this and African-American. It became more popularized with Jesse Jackson them when they wanted to say that we didn't want to identify with a color. No other ethnic group in America identify with a color. You don't see the Japanese, the Chinese saying they're yellow people. You don't see the Mexicans saying we're brown people. You don't see the, well, white people do say they say white, but other people don't identify with a color. They identify with the ethnic heritage as the doctors say was Chinese, come from China, Russia. Even though you don't different from the giant Chinese, they all look the same, but they know the difference. So, but Afro-American is something that is safe. You name your kids sometimes African names, and you name your organization the African American Association, Pan-African Association, things of that nature. But it's a challenging identity, but it's very inclusive, and you can go back and you will see many organizations call themselves the African American this and the African American that. You understand? And more people argue to put that in the census that we African write it in sometimes. And then the other one is black, and that's isolationist. And that's, you don't deal with no white people. Like the black Muslim, black Well, the Black Panthers was an integrated organization, but most Black groups that practice Black nationalism are segregationists. They want their own land. They have these 7 pillars that they call them aspects, and that's think Black, talk Black, act Black, create Black, and buy Black, vote Black. Everything Black, Black, Black. You understand? And that's a dynamic. It may be reactionary to white nationalism or white white supremacy, but it's an identity that some people accept those principles in order to demonstrate your Blackness. That you do everything based upon the benefit of the Black identity and Black people. But most Black people, human, even though the word hue means color, but the point is human means that I identify with everybody. You understand? I'm like a chameleon. Whoever winning, I'm on their side. You understand? And that's generally a mentality of just being safe and being one in which you don't want to say what kind of human. You just want to say I'm a human being, and that's it. And I ain't gonna let nobody tell me I'm something else or treat me like I'm something else, even though they do. If you have dark pigmentation, bushy hair, broad nose, and thick lips. So now there's mentalities. Those are mentalities. They're not necessarily identities that are based upon any perspective other than how people organize themselves and try to develop that identity, that perspective into an identity. When you in a racist dynamic where the Europeans say if you mellow, if you're yellow, you're mellow, if you're brown, stick around, and if you white, you're all right, but if you're Black, get back. That was the saying, Doc, in the 60s and the 70s we used to talk about. Sometimes, no matter how you see yourself, the society, as all y'all pointed out, would treat you the same. You understand? You are inferior, and you need to be thanking us for bringing you out of Africa and getting you here. And as DeSantis said, out of Florida, the governor said, a lot of good things came out of slavery, the Holocaust of enslavement of Black people. We taught y'all skills, but at the same time, he can't talk about, when you go in our history, all the creative things, from heart surgery, open heart light. The white people taught us that too. Just the many inventions, as Linda, who was on, talked about. Black people making and to make the society grow, and not counting the labor, the free labor that we contributed to the society. So we look at this this dynamic of identity, and the way you identify yourself sometimes deal with of can we win the struggle? Frederick Douglass said, without struggle, there's no progress. None. You have to struggle. Those that struggle reap some benefits. Some people are struggling for next generations, but most people want immediate gratification and satisfaction from their struggle. And if they can't get it right then and there, they don't want to struggle. You understand? So you ask yourself, how many times have I participated in a movement for justice? How many times have I demonstrated with other groups of Black people that saw an injustice, may have been a murder, saying an armchair, sideline cheerleader for those that are out there. I'm talking actually got out there in the movement of seeking justice for either an unjust act or just for opportunities, as Brother E was talking about. Employment, better education. You understand? And you can participate in different ways. You have to just demonstrate. Write letters or or make donations to argue with that are fighting on behalf of the general population of us as a people in the hills of North America. I mean, you know, and all y'all say it's pretty difficult because so many of us are comfortable in our oppression. You know, we're comfortable. We just want to live. As long as you ain't bothering me, I'm okay. You understand? You watch the news and you shake your head about the Palestinians, but you glad you ain't there. It's just like the brother in the gangs when one of them gets shot to say, I'm glad it wasn't me. You understand? Even though it's his best partner, because that could have been me. I was standing right next to him. You understand? But we throw him in the ground and cry and say some words, pour whiskey over him or wine, and you understand, and go on by our lives, trying to get old, you understand, trying to continue to live. So it's a very challenging dynamic when it comes to the Black identity, because it's more than color. Because some Black people say, yeah, I'm Black, but do you really participate in Black philosophies, ideologies, and practices that come out of the Afrocentric experience? In other words, what you name your children. As long as they can go and check the birth certificates and we naming our children after slave masters, they know that we still culture. As long as we can look at Stephen A. about how good he looked in European suits, never wear an African suit except for on African History Month or something like that. But as far as he's concerned, you know, I want the European look. And most people that do business with white folks dress up like them. I mean, you see Japanese and Chinese in European suits. You see some Latinos. You know, they don't be wearing their sombreros when they come to meetings and when they're at the United Nations. You understand? Almost everybody over there wearing Eurocentric and dressing because of the power that they have economically and militarily. You don't want this beast to attack you like he's doing the Palestinians, and you don't want him to attack you in his justice system or criminal court system or in his power thrust. But how do we get around this, and will we win? Do we see anything positive about us as a people? The beauty of Black male-female relationships, and I'm not knocking, I don't care if two men are together, two women are together. I ain't a bedroom watcher. And that's on them. But are they conscious and are they committed to the struggle for liberation? You understand? It was two movements after the 60s, the Civil Rights Movement and the Black Power Movement. The Black Power Movement came when, at that time, Stokely Carmichael and I forget the other brother's name, they introduced Black Power and made it a slogan during the March Against Fear when this brother tried to integrate Alabama University. His name just passed by me. And he got shot on the way. He was marching by himself, and they shot him. He was going to integrate the University of Alabama, and they shot him. And then, so they said, we're going to go back and do the march. He couldn't get nobody to march with him, so he was marching by. I said, James, man, was James, man? I can't remember. No, man, somebody else. But anyway, he was marching and he got shot. So Martin Luther King them said, we're going to march against fear. And that's when Stokely and I know the brother, he came into my house. I can't think of his African name right now. But anyway, him and Stokely introduced and popularized the word Black Power. And what they mean is the same thing Machinda was saying, the necessity to unify around some principles and values, such as voting, such as organizing. You understand? Education, mobilization, organization, and confrontation, and transformation. Most of us don't do the things we did when we were younger. We grew out of it, and we thank the Creator for getting us out of the problems that we were doing. Because if we knew what we knew now, we wouldn't have done a lot of the things we did younger. We would have a different mentality. Like I tell Rahh, if I was playing basketball today, I would never pass it. I'd shoot every time I got the ball or got an assist. I wouldn't, I mean, because I had that kind of talent. But I'm up here trying to play the white man game. You know, learn how to do everything, run his plays. And like they said, the only person that held Michael Jordan to 15-point a game was his coach at North Carolina. You understand? He didn't drop him until he left. But the point is that we are in a different struggle. And then Frederick Douglass said, without struggle, there's no progress. And you got to ask yourself, I don't mind people, like Sammy Davis Jr. sent us money in the Black Power movement, but he didn't want nobody to know it. So he sent it through different ways. Same thing in the Settle case. People supported it, but they didn't want people to know it. Because they knew we were right about what, that's what, and the NAACP, which was started with Jews, the Spingram brothers, they still give a Spingram Award. The first presidents of the NAACP, as Dr. Yusuf Ben said, well, the Spingram brothers, there was two of them, and they were the first two presidents of the NAACP. This is something you can research. They were an integrationist group, and there were Jews running it. And then when they kicked the Jews out, the money dried up. You understand? And power movement. But the NAACP is predominantly Black now. But just like the Action Network with Sharpton, the NAACP, the National Urban League, Congress of Racial Equality, you don't hear them speaking out against the war like Martin Luther King, against what's happening to the Palestinians. Why? Because they get Jewish money. You understand? I mean, you don't even hear the Pope saying anything about the genocide that's going on because they're neutralized. They are just as afraid. They're going to jam students for criticizing the war and call it anti-Semitism and want to kick people out of school and threaten law students, making a list of those that demonstrate and taking pictures of them, that they won't get a job at Jewish legal firms once they get out of school. You understand? What group do you know can't be criticized? You understand? If you criticize them, you're anti-something. The Palestinians ain't fighting Jews. All you have to do is look and say, what are these white people doing over there in the Middle East? They are a little speck, and everybody around them is Black or brown. How'd they get there? You understand? You see from where, it's a whole new freedom of thought, freedom of understanding. Now you don't have to go around and expose yourself at your job. You're in the belly of the beast. We are the moral vanguard of this country. We try to make them human. They borrow our songs, everybody who's oppressed, even the union workers. We shall overcome. No justice, no peace. You understand? All of those things, they use us as a model to emulate for their liberation struggle. Chinese, Japanese, all of them use nonviolent tactics and quote King and say, just like the Blacks, we want our freedom. That's what the gays said. You understand? And we are a model for the world. You understand? As far as coming from the Holocaust of enslavement up to today, we're supposed to be in slavery forever. But many of our people who struggle never benefit from it. Those of us that struggle may not benefit from it, but a future generation will. Open the doors, and expose the lies and contradictions. Israel was nothing but a 52nd state of America. A covert state. They give them $50 billion a year free grant just to operate their budget. That ain't counting military stuff. You understand? But if you don't read, don't study, and just, the Situation Room, MSNBC, and all them, they'll have you just like Malcolm said. Have the victim, the criminal, and the criminal, the victim. And that's why we look for identity. We look for consciousness. Blackness is color, consciousness and thought, and practice, and culture. Consciousness, color, culture, and practice. Now, it's not easy to do that when you're set in your ways, you're named after uncles and mothers and fathers. It's not easy to be Black. You feel lonely sometimes because everybody else, thousands of people going to gambling casinos and going to football games and acting like they ain't got no problem. I mean, just a few years ago, they wouldn't even let you in the front gate or the front door. You understand? But people struggled, integrated counters and took beatings, got dogs sitting on them. You understand? So you can stay in these hotels and things isn't easy. Nothing for us ever came easy. And so do we owe it to the ancestors to continue to struggle? I think so. But I ain't mad at people that don't struggle because I understand oppression will make you that way. Oppression will have you with a mentality that as long as they ain't bothering me, it's all right. Pass the dope so I can get high. And I'm not even in this place. You understand? I'm not in America. I'm in the sky. You understand? High. You understand? The masquerade, the hurt, and the inability to see the world from an Afrocentric perspective. And so identity is very key. It's very key. But you got to practice your identity. Just saying you Black don't mean nothing. Just saying you an individual and human don't mean nothing. You understand? Do you stand up for justice? Martin Luther King didn't have to do what he was middle class. His daddy was a preacher. Him and Corilla, when they came up to Alabama, Montgomery, they were driving. They didn't have to get on no bus. But he answered the call of history. And he said, one day, and in his opening speech, they're going to say, here was a Black people. You understand? That fought for the human justice and that the world will respect. And he said, the arc of justice is long, but it's always been toward justice. And so we have righteousness. And don't get me wrong. You don't try to convert people. We don't try to convert our kids to think the way we think, but we let them see how we think. You understand? And if they ask us, we tell them what we think. But most generations, they don't even ask us anymore. They Google every day. They get the answers. They don't get the knowledge that come with the answers, the wisdom that come with the answers. They just get the answer and they go. So the struggle is one in which, as Rashaki said, the way they absorbed us and subliminally sucked us into a lifestyle and understanding that we suffer peacefully. And Malcolm said they give us for ideology and cultural Novocaine. And Malcolm said, you're bleeding all from your jaw when the dentist took out your teeth, but you put that Novocaine in there and you suffer peacefully. And so many of us are on that mentality. And so the struggle is a continuous struggle that requires us to look at. I practice a philosophy called Kawida. Kawida is created in the 60s by Dr. Karenga. It's called The Best of African Thought and Practices, Sensibility. and the ongoing synthesis and constant exchange with the world. In other words, we take the best of Malcolm thought, the best of Garvey thought, the best of Helen Baker thought, the best of Mary McLeod thought, the best of Fannie Lou Hamer thought, the best of the Du Bois thought, the best of our Black people thought and practices. And we combine them into a philosophy, and then we practice it. We don't say asante, we bow when we see people, but let you know it's heartfelt. You understand? No cussing, no profanity, no degradation talk. When we see our Black people suffering, we try to help them. If we're in front of the store, we go in the store and the brother out there, or anybody really, and they say, I need $1, we don't say, go get a job. If we got the money, we give them the money. Sometimes we give them $5, $10, $15, $20. It depends on how fat our pockets is. We don't say, the dignity is already gone. Yeah, some people are hustling, but I ain't got time to find them. You understand? But you can tell if some people is really suffering. And you give them a couple of dollars, $3, $4, they ain't gonna hurt you. But you don't make it bad. I'll buy it for you. I ain't going to the store and treat nobody like a child. What you want? I'll buy you something to eat, but I ain't gonna give you no money. If you want to go get dope with it, but I do it out of my heart because it makes me feel good. You understand? And but some people, man, they hard on it. They hard on their people. You know? I ain't thinking about that N word. I ain't giving nobody S, H-I-T. You understand? And that be the mentality. But when we see a sister selling her body, we say that's somebody's niece, somebody's mother, somebody's daughter. That's not a whore. It's not an itch with a B. You understand? That's not a streetwalker. That's our people doing the best they can. So we don't degrade our people, making it bad or worse on them. But anyway, in response, Recipe.
And that's real. What you're saying is it's a lesson be learned. My mentality was to, most of the times previously I wouldn't give any person money most of the times, but every now and again I do give some money. And it don't even have to be a Black person. It could be a Hispanic or even I mean, I don't recall giving a white person some money, but I could have. So, it's we have to learn to be human because we've been taught not to be. So, yeah, I mean, we need these lessons to become better people. And when you come on here, we get it quite often. So I just appreciate all of the great information you provide and everybody else that's on here that provide.
But see, let me tell you right, all of y'all make contributions. I learned so much from the doc because he's out there with these people interacting, and he sees life different from me and from all of us. That's diversity. I ain't gonna argue with Doc about his perspective. I'm not gonna argue with you about yours. You understand? We can find a way to find common ground, even if I have to wait and talk to you one-on-one. Oh, anybody, Machinda, you got any response?
No more.
You're a beautiful brother. What about you, E?
Not on a response, man. I just like what you were saying, man. Really could understand a couple of different things what you just presented.
Okay, you much too kind. You much too kind. Brother Doctor, give me a prescription, Doc. Make me well.
I got nothing to say about like Ross Key. Hey, you brought up that giving money. Did here and there, but you remind me of a story. When I first moved over here, I've been over here for 30 years. There's a brother at the store, come out, hey brother, can I give him a few bucks? Next week, a couple weeks later, see him again, hey, I give him a few bucks. But the third time, man, when you ask, I said, brother, I can't keep giving you money every other
That's
week,
consciousness.
man.
You do it with
Yeah,
consciousness and with intelligence.
And like Rusky said, I had a few whites. I was like, wait a minute, bro. I remember specifically this white female. She asked me for some money. And I said, wait a minute, you're white. And I said, hey, you're a female. And I said, you understand I'm black, right? Said, oh, you are? And I said, it's just odd for you being white asking me for money. I can't do that. If you money, you're white. You got privilege. I don't. But I remember that. But yeah, that one brother though, man, 30 years later, he's at a different store hanging out, but he's still out 30 years later, man, still asking for money, man.
Yeah, you're right about that.
Yeah, we get to the point where I just can't every week, man. I can't give you money every week.
It's a
but
struggle.
Yeah, good lesson, man. Good class, man. It's an identity thing.
Yeah.
And like you said, someday I don't want to get involved. But man, like us all here, I know everybody know Roski, but if you're there, man, you see some really injustice. You stand up. I said, wait a minute, bro. This is going a little bit too far. I gotta get in now. No, this gotta stop.
Hey, man, we wouldn't be where we are if people didn't struggle for it. And see, people didn't pay the price. I mean, James Meredith was shot in his driveway. But I'm not asking people to get shot, but do what you can. Like I said, Sammy Davis, Bill Cosby, they all helped us in the movement, but they didn't want nobody to know it because their jobs, they entertain them. There are people right now, man. I was watching TV this morning. A bunch of white folks was in this congressional committee where the secretary of something with Biden and the black general that he appointed or whatever he is. They let them talk. These white people saying stop the genocide of Palestinians. Have red and y'all to quit this. Quit defending Israel for genocide. And your role is America. You can stop it right now. All you have to tell Israel is stop it. You understand? Or we ain't giving you nothing, no more. You understand? And quit blocking with genocide in the United Nations, vetoing, and those things. I mean, hey, they talk about Cornell University people getting threats. Jews, they claim that. They turn it into a fundraiser. Man, they'll make the siren go off and say, we're being attacked. You understand? They bombed a refugee camp today. A refugee camp. And they said, well, they're using the humans as human seals. That's because you got them stacked together. And just because you call it a human shield, so you kill the human people to get to the person behind it. That's just like me coming to your house and shoot your mama and say, well, she was blocking me from getting you. So I shot her to get to you. Like that justified me killing your mama. That's what these Israelis said. Oh, they're using them as human shit. Well, wait until you can get in and find out where they at. But all this bombing, you're bombing human beings. You're bombing people. Like you dropped the atom bomb on the Japanese. You didn't drop it on the capital. And the same thing in Desert Storm. It led the people out in the desert telling we're going to fight the Republican Guard for the Iraq. Then they went around and bombed their houses and bombed the schools and bombed the nurses of America. That's what Israel's doing. They ain't going in there to fight head up. They're going in there, they bombing everything that's standing. And then they tell the people go south and they bomb the roads and bomb the people going. And then America act like, oh, we told them to spare civilians. Well, why aren't you sanctioning them? If you can say Russia is committing war crimes, why can't you say Israel? And that's not really Israel, that's America. You giving them the bomb, you financing the genocide. And so, you know, some people don't see it that way, that's fine. But, you know, the facts are the facts, good doc. Man, makes a lot of sense, you know. You know, people just don't want to get involved. People just don't want to just live their lives. Just like, hey, when you poor, the best thing to do is don't be poor. You know, that's what the cat used to say. I just don't want to be one of them out there begging. You know, I don't want to be one of them walking the streets talking to themselves. You know, what lesson do you learn? Every now and then, when my boys were, and I took them to downtown Los Angeles off of 12th Street. You know. Why? To appreciate where they live, to appreciate how they live. They're not in tents. They're not in no RV. They got their own room. They got plenty of food. You understand? Way more than I had when I was coming up. We used to eat sugar sandwiches. You understand? You look in the refrigerator with nothing but ice water, but the bed. You understand? But hey, these kids are spoiled. Many of them are not just spoiled, but this is, you know, we want the best for our children. But they can't ever say I took them to Magic Mountain, because I know ain't no mountain magic. And they can't ever say I took them to Disneyland. You understand? They may went with their in-laws and may went with somebody else. But I ain't never took them to Knott's Berry Farm, the scary night. You understand? We never celebrated. The Christmas tree never was in my, you know, I ain't been to church. You ain't no Christian. You know, this is Jesus' birthday. You understand? And there's an argument about that. I ain't bringing no stinking tree up in the house with lights on it and decorations. Well, now, can they go to their in-laws' house, their grandmama's house, and they got a Christmas tree? Yeah. I'm just going by my practices as a value system. I don't argue with them about it. You understand? They want to go to the, you understand? Spend $1,500 to a kid that's getting D's. You understand? Instead of using that money to help them get a car or to help them tutor, they spend $2,000, $300 and $400 for a hairdo. You understand? To go to a prom. But parents do that. And I ain't mad at them. But at the same time, I have to practice the values that I have as long as I'm running this house. And I got wife that go along with me. So it's a struggle, Doc, to be black. You be by yourself sometimes. You understand? Like we have this program. And, you know, it's a blessing to be able to come on. It ain't about how many people we have. It's about our heartfelt discussions with each other. And do we learn from each other? And then we accept each other's brothers and sisters when the sisters is on. And do we really care? Roger Key said me the for brother what's it Roger Key, what's his name?
Peter
the
Rogers.
one who sent me the Peter Rogers. That was beautiful. You understand? Because he was one of us and we lost it. You know, he was a deep brother. You know, he did a couple of shows, 2 or 3 shows, him and his wife. And we lost him. That's going to happen. I'm going to be gone one day out the picture. We all are. But while we in the picture, what do we pose to be? You understand? Wearing stingy brims and with a cigar, big cigar, look like a penis. You understand? I mean, no, that ain't it. Like I hate these football players with earrings on. I don't hate them. It just disgusts me. 2 earrings. You understand? Then they got long braids like they're a chick. I mean, yeah. But that's where they want to be. You understand? But to me, represent your culture, go out there, play the sport and leave. We all work for white folks. I understand that. But be known for your sport. Don't be known for trying to get recognized for wearing shoes with a fish in the heel and all that type of stuff. You understand? But anyway, that's a no different struggle. So, Brother E, you got any comment?
So what is the answer to differences together under one accord?
We've had many of conventions and meetings building Black United Fronts. They got the National Black United Front. We have what they call community labor and community action. Black United Front in LA, we meet on Zoom every once a month, but they've been meeting for about 15 years. They have every Wednesday their board meet, and that's in LA. BCCLA, Black Community Labor Organization, BC Alliance, whatever. But I go to the general meeting. I'm not on the board every Wednesday. We used to have a luncheon every end of the month. There are efforts to try to get people together. It's just hard, Brother E. People be working, people be dealing with their kids, people be dealing with, where they check at and where, we can't ask everybody to be unified. Look at how white folks are fighting right now. They fight, Ukraine war is two white folks. The Civil War was white folks. They got laws. You know what their laws for? Is to keep them civil toward each other. We ended, until we fought for equal justice and things of that nature. But don't expect for everybody to be together. That's too difficult. No group got everybody together. You got Taiwan getting ready to fight China. You got North Korea fighting South Korea. No group, you don't require no group for everybody or a significant majority. It was only a minority of white folks that got rid of the first speaker in the House in history. 8 people, along with other people that the Democrats do. Y'all job, y'all the majority, and we ain't getting into that. And we do, you're going to have to give us something like you gave them for you to get in office. And they won't. So I don't expect for all Black people. We too diverse. I mean, you got Jehovah's Witnesses out there that ain't gonna get in the struggle. You got Black people that have different philosophies, different values. Just go with those that want to be a part of the movement. And that's what we did at Long Beach State. The National Society of Black Engineers Association, the Black Business Association, Student Business Association, the Black Study Student Association, they all came up under one umbrella. You understand? But they had different interests. They met to solve Black problems on campus that affected all Black people. Admissions, financial aid, tutoring, educational service. What teachers it take. You got Black fraternities, man, Greek names. I'll live with that and just keep on pushing. Keep on pushing. All right, Rashiki, what we got next week? You there? I mean, tomorrow. Oh, he left. But anyway, I don't know what happened to him. But anyway, I want to say I wish all y'all blessings without numbers and all good things without end. Hey, Rashiki, what we got Wednesday?
Right.
He left a message. He'll be right back.
Oh, here he is.
Okay.
Let me show you. We have a guest host, Dr. Sherry Randolph. She's going to interview this filmmaker, Ricker B. Hines.
Okay.
That's what we have tomorrow.